Welcome to the City of Eureka Springs BOZA and Planning Commission meeting. It is 6 o'clock and we are in the basement of the auditorium here in the City of Eureka Springs. And I'll ask our secretary to do a roll call to establish a quorum.
Ansley.
Here.
Mike Welch.
Here.
Scott Price.
Here.
Fergie Stewart.
Here.
Dave Budakali.
Here.
Susan Holm is absent with leave. I'm President Tom Buford, and we also have a staff person, Cassie Disman, here.
Okay. And we have a quorum. If we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, we'll start with the Board of Zoning Adjustment. I need an approval for the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as written. Any comments? Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Okay. Passes. Public comment. If anyone wants to come across the microphone at the front, please do so for the Board of Zoning agenda. Anybody have anything on the agenda would like to talk about on the Board of Zoning? Okay, not seeing anybody approaching the microphone. Okay, so unfinished business, we have none. New business. We have a tree removal request at 28 Prospect, Sarah Martin applicant, removal of 6 trees. Ms. Martin, are you here today? Okay, not seeing her here. I need a motion to discuss?
I have a question.
Yes.
Before we make the motion to discuss, don't we have to bring it to the floor and then discuss it? Or
Say again? I'm sorry.
before we make a motion on an issue, don't we have to bring it to the floor by making a motion to? Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I apologize.
So I need anybody want to discuss the application of 28 Prospect, Sarah Martin applicant?
I'd like to make a discussion. I'd like to have a question. Is Sarah Martin here? No? Anyway, I went to the property myself, and I know with
Did we have a second on that motion? Sorry.
Yeah, we need a second on the motion.
Oh, yeah,
to
a second.
discuss. Okay.
Second.
Second.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. That's all right.
Anyway, 3 of the 5 trees I see, 4 of the 6 trees I see fall within the guidelines. They're really close to the concrete. They're uprooting the base, and they're really in some poor shape. But the 2 trees, when you first look at it right there, there's one that has a marker there, dedication to somebody. I forgot the folks' name. But those 2 trees look fine to me. I mean, they were away from the wall. They were in an area that was like landscape. And I just didn't see anything that would give that reason to tear. The other ones that I could see were needing to be removed. But those 2, I didn't see anything that would cause me to support that.
Since the applicant's not here, I make a motion that we postpone this till the next meeting and give her an opportunity to come and speak.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table, postpone the approval of the application at 28 Prospect for the removal of 6 trees. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we'll put that on the next agenda item for next time. Tree removal, 32 Dogwood Ridge, Tom Buford, owner, removal of 1 tree. All right, and Mr. Buford is sitting next to me. Come on up to the microphone.
Motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss?
Second.
And a second? Okay, motion to discuss in a second. Give Tom a second to get up there. He walks kind of slow.
I'm Tom Buford, live at 32 Dogwood Ridge, Eureka Springs. I have a request for 1 tree removal. This tree is hanging over the top of my house, and it's the limbs are actually laying on top of the house, and it's also affecting the functioning of the gutter because the pollen is clogging the gutter up, and the gutter no longer functions with the high pollen content we have in the town now. I'd like to request the tree to be cut down.
Okay, any discussion?
I don't have any questions.
Motion to approve the tree cut.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the tree cut at 32 Dogwood Ridge. Tom Buford, applicant. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next, we have a tree removal, 16 Pine Crest. Jay Gray, applicant. Removal of 10 trees. And I believe the applicant is here in the audience. Let's come on up to the microphone.
It's Jeff Gay.
Okay. All right. Any motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss?
Second.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Gray. Tell us about the tree cut.
It's for a new construction, just in the footprint of the house and some of the dead trees that, could fall on the house.
Question?
Go ahead, Michael.
Did I understand that not in this packet, but on the email we got that Paul Sutherland had been involved, he had seen the property and recommended that
Yes,
the trees
they've
removed?
all been marked.
Is that true, Paul? Yes. Okay, that's all.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All right. Any
Motion to approve the tree cut at 16 Pinecrest.
Second. All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the tree cut request. 16 Pinecrest. 16 Pinecrest. Jay Gay, applicant. Removal of 10 trees. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. One abstention. So we have the motion passes. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep. Motion to adjourn.
All right. We have a motion to adjourn the BOZA board meeting. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. We have a motion and a second to adjourn the board meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. So we're adjourning. The Board of Zoning Adjustment is adjourned. And now the Planning Commission, I need a approval of the agenda for the Planning Commission.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Sorry, before we approve the agenda, I did not get minutes for last meeting, if someone would like to recommend taking those off.
Okay. So we're going to...
Can I make an adjustment? Do we need to rediscuss fence discussion? Can we remove that, or we want to keep?
Oh, the fence discussion?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do that at the next workshop. Yeah, well, we can remove that.
Okay.
We already talked. Okay. So we remove item number 4 and item number 6 on commission business. Any other changes? Okay, no other changes? I need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all right, agenda is approved. Public comments. Anyone that has a public comment to the Planning Commission, please address the commission here at the microphone. Anyone? Okay. All right, not having anybody coming. Okay, then the new business. We have no unfinished business. New business is new commercial construction, 3094 East Van Buren, Justed Frame, applicant, extension of a deck. Is Mr. Frame here? Okay.
Yang.
All right. Come on up to the microphone.
Mr. Yang.
All right. And tell us about your project.
I think earlier this year, we approved for a part of a deck, and now we're having a lower extension of the deck to the property here for late night business, basically, where we close our restaurant down, the main restaurant down, and have it outdoors to suit basically here, more for the clientele during the on season here, not the winter times, obviously, because it's an open deck. But we want to be able to showcase that and reflect that for all of our tourists and stuff like that, especially our Fridays and Saturday nights, specifically those two. Also, we want to try to use that for event space as well. And where there's I believe it's a limit to we want to try to keep it limited to 50 here, no more than that. And that's the intent, to have that secondary deck, to have potentially live music, but for me and my wife's personal preference, we prefer not to have any heavy metal, hard rock. It's just light, easy. It's intended to be something different from the downtown atmosphere, because we have enough of that down here. We want to be able to offer something for our locals and those tourists that come here who just want to just come and, for lack of a better word, chillax. And that's what we want to try to do out there on Friday and Saturday night evenings specifically, and also for event spaces.
All right, well, thank you very much. We have a motion to discuss?
Motion to discuss?
Second. Second. Okay, we're motion and second discuss. Go ahead. Any questions?
Well,
the
I wanna say, I saw the other quality work you did with the expansion you already have there, and it was done really well. And the plans all look good, they look professional. And I see that, I don't see any reason me to have any more questions. I mean, it looks like it's a good proposal, and the quality of work that you've already done out there looks to be top quality, so.
I do have a couple of questions, and it's concerning parking according to the regulations and the square footage. I don't know what the square footage of the current restaurant is, and the amount of existing parking spaces for that restaurant.
Okay.
But with the
Well, we did discuss it with Cassie already with that too as well, to try to make sure I accommodated here. We had a meeting here earlier last week, wasn't it, with Paul and Cassie to talk about that. The intent is not to have it, the event space, opened when the restaurant is in place. It's intended to be after hours, where we close and don't use that space, but it will still have enough space to accommodate all of that nonetheless.
Yeah, but you say this now, but in the future, you could have both the restaurant and the deck open. And I was just wondering if...
I understand your concern with that. I'll be very...
May I finish my question?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or comment?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so how many existing parking spaces is there in
Currently,
conjunction?
right now?
Yeah, with the restaurant and the square feet of the restaurant?
We believe it wasn't, we talked about what we pulled it off, it was 13 to 1,500 square feet for the actual dining room, wasn't it? I forgot what it was here.
I don't remember what it was for the dining room.
But whatever it was, we did discuss it. I don't have the exact numbers here. Once we talked about it, actually, did you?
Well-
Paul.
All right.
So a question was brought up during our meeting with me, Cassie, and Andy and his wife. Because I had a concern about the same thing about bathrooms and then the parking. But if you measure the square foot of the deck that's going to be used, and the what he has right now is the exact same square footage. I understand what you're saying by if he opens it up, both of them up, but that's going to be in the stipulations in the permit.
Well, my calculations, when looking at the blueprints there, forgetting about the stairwell and the walk area, you have at 80 square, parking space per 80 square feet, it would need an additional 10 parking spaces, 10 to 15?
So on the parking spaces he has right now, we feel like that whatever we're not adding on any square foot to what he has today, because there's a deck on there that's 16 by 16 or maybe whatever that is. It's going to be considered a stage, and they're going to change that on the plans. So one of those decks that you look at on his plans is actually a stage, and that will be corrected before we issue a permit. The other decks that you have right now is one's already existing, and the other one's somewhere, I think it's a 24 by 24.
Yes. So you're saying there's a stage area that will not be used for outside dining or seating?
So where it says deck 1411 by 15'5" is going to be a stage area, and he's going to correct that. So the stage area that is already there is 24, or the new stage is going to be a 24 by I think 24.
So is the existing parking in compliance with the actual square footage of the restaurant now, or is there any excess or less than?
Say that one more time.
The existing square footage of the restaurant and the existing parking, is that balanced with the restaurant?
Well, we really didn't look at that because that should have been done by another prior that met a prior code. And however, if you was to take off what he has now on the decks that he's going to use, should be within that realm, because I think we're using 15
Well, could you give me a number?
The occupancy?
Current parking, I
Yeah.
apologize. What is the current number of parking spaces in the property now? And will that be increased or decreased with this approval of this deck?
So one of my problems is it will not be increased or decreased on the deck.
And so the number of spaces?
The number of spaces, how many spaces do you have, Andy?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it 5 across the deck? Okay, 24 deck.
So keep in mind, too, he has 24. My biggest concern was that on this, if he's open on this and all of a sudden we have quite a bit of rush, that's the reason why he's going to keep that deck to under 50. Also, too, he has additional parking on the other side. He owns land on the other side that he has room to grow if he needs to.
Oh, right next to the Wagner.
I'd still prefer like a number.
Well, the reason why we did not object to anything here was because of the fact he wasn't increasing any square footage or compared to what he has now.
So they currently have 24 spots. For the proposed deck, I believe my math was they would need 15 spots, meaning that if they keep to their proposed business plan of the inside will not be operating when the deck is operating, they have enough parking for the deck. And we did discuss that if they ever want to change that so that both are operating at the same time, we're going to have to revisit the parking issue.
Would you be willing to put up a sign that gives the hours the deck is open so people know that it's closed?
We can do that because we posted on Facebook already here on our page here the hours of operations for the late night service already here. So we already have that going here. If you want us to have a physical sign out there as well, we can definitely do that too as well. I understand your concern here, Mr. Scott, where what if we use both of them at the same time? But that's not possible, because there'll be so many people. We're already struggling here. I mean, when it's really, really busy, I remember like in 2021, we had a very, very busy year, and that's already hard. We didn't even have any, we barely had half of our restaurant, including our current deck that we have that's adjacent to the building, not even full, and we were full already.
Well,
So,
I'm just saying, I've actually been to your establishment, and I've found it difficult to find parking even with regular business.
I understand that, but if that was the case, then we wouldn't have an issue here as far as if we use the deck as well, because obviously nobody's going to come. So at that point here, I don't see that.
So my question is,
Yeah.
do we apply the regulations to existing
yes.
square footage, and then maybe you apply for a variance on that?
I think that's open for you guys.
So as I understand it, there are 24 spaces. Cassie says that the increase in the deck size to be in compliance might create the need for 15 spaces when in use. So that leaves us 9 net spaces for the building. I mean, I don't believe it's my job to tell you what's good business and what's not good business, you know, in terms of the investment that you're putting into this big deck. If you're going to be able to park them or not, that's, you know,
becomes
if you take that risk, that's your risk. But it is our job to see if you're in compliance with whatever the requirements are, and to make sure that we're not putting parking pressure knowingly on the street or adjoining property owners who would then come back to us and say, what are you doing?
That is actually the problem here that I think I see in other restaurants that I'm not going to name here, where they park it right on the highway. We're absolutely not going to let that happen at all, because that's a very curvy highway. That's a dangerous turn right there. In fact, I even talked to the Department of Transportation about putting a slow down sign or a blind intersection sign right there, because it's so tight and there's not enough of a shoulder right there, because I do believe we had an accident sometime last year or the year before where somebody got hit there too as well. So I don't think logically nobody's going to park right there, but definitely we will say something here if that was the case. I understand that concern more than anything else here. But I don't foresee, of the 15 years that my family has owned this restaurant, I have never seen anybody park up there. So that's just my experience on it here. You could just take it for what that is.
Well, Mr. Frank, we can approve with the caveat that we put a restriction that it's only to be used when the restaurant is closed. So I'd have to get a motion from the rest of the members to do that.
I make a motion that we approve the new commercial construction at 3094 East Van Buren, and as a special condition, the deck can only be used when the resident's closed.
Okay.
Restaurant's closed.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the commercial construction at 3094 East Van Buren, Austin Vane applicant, with the restriction that it can only be used when the restaurant is closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. So congratulations.
All right. God bless, guys. Have a great evening.
All right. All right, next we got commission business. We've got metal buildings and our code. Paul, come on up. Is he out there still? There he is. Okay.
Good evening, Paul Sutherland, the building inspector.
All right.
On the metal buildings, the last meeting you had someone came in and was trying to get a new metal building, but we don't have any codes. The only thing we have that states that you cannot have a metal building in any district in Eureka Springs. So the reason why I'm here today is because I think that ought to be into our code, and it's not as hard as you think it is to put it in, because IBC and IRC regulates all the building components, requirements that you have to have. What you have to do is you have to write down what you don't want it to look like. The mayor's input is he really doesn't want the front to look like a metal building. So like I think I looked at Springfield and Rogers, and really theirs is only one sentence, and that states that on the front of the building you cannot have any ribbed or corrugated metal. Pretty simple ordinance. You can put all you want, everything that you want on there, or what you don't want on there, as to allow metal buildings. I'm sure we don't want metal buildings in the historic district, because you have to go to HDC to get that approved anyway. But I would think that, we're talking about more in the commercial areas. We have metal buildings in here, but every time they have to come get some type of variance to have them put up. And it's something that might not need to have a variance, but it's something you can decide on.
Okay.
Paul, on the no ribbed or corrugated metal, you're talking about no ribbed or corrugated exposed. In other words, you have to clad it.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
So, that's going to give you your metal building look. So if you had it to where that could be a term there, but you can also put, if you want the front to be masonry, or if you want the front to be whatever you want, don't want, or do want.
So we're looking at like metal roofs as opposed to corrugated roofs that look like a barn. So we don't look like a barn on a metal building.
Not roofs so much as siding.
No, I mean as a
Yeah.
comparison, if there's corrugated.
Yeah.
As is written right in this ordinance as it says that their metal buildings are prohibited in all zoning districts unless you put some kind of material covering the metal. We could make it so that the storefront, in certain areas could be covered, to give it an aesthetic look and not give it, but then not ban the entire construction. That's something we could present and change it other than flat out. Right now, you have to have the entire structure stuccoed or something. It could be just an aesthetic view from the streets, like this place that we're talking about. They were asking out there where the other brewery is. They're going to there's a metal building there already, and they're going to put another one there. And we'd have to change this because it says the only way you're allowed to have a 100% metal building is it doesn't exceed 100 square feet, 150 square feet. So we could make a change to the ordinance if that's something we wanted to do, to allow a metal building to be constructed, but the facade for the street level has to be constructed of material such as wood, stone, glass, or patterned concrete. That's something we could discuss. I'm not saying I'm endorsing that, but that's something open for discussion.
Right. Go ahead.
I think, when this was probably written with prohibited metal buildings, it was probably corrugated, like on a barn.
Right.
And, so we don't know the history of this ordinance when it was proposed.
Yeah.
Because I see no problem with a metal building, if it's painted, it's not.
Right. Yeah, I know in my neighborhood I have a metal building, but they went through a hearing with the Historic Commission, and it's off of the street, kind of behind the house, but you can still see it, but it's a storage shed. So I guess what I was going to ask Paul was the dynamic of use, I guess, storage building. Is it, if you were to say, okay, storage buildings for storage that are X amount of square footage versus a storage building that somebody wants to live in, I guess, or some other use, like run a business out of. Is that anything come up with you?
So I'm more or less interested in the one that's going to be for more of a commercial area, just like the brewery, would have to go get the variance. And I don't know if that scared them off, or because they came back, Cassie?
They're still interested. We're just working through some things.
But so I'm looking more at the commercial area. You can restrict the metal buildings in the residential areas if you want to do that. But I think we probably have some restrictions on that. They probably had to get a variance on that.
They did. Yeah, they did. They got they had to do a hearing, and then they had to get a variance, but they got it approved. But I'm just wondering if because it is painted. And that may have been part of their able to get it approved because they had it painted. It wasn't just a straight metal. It kind of looks like wood color. So, but it's it's a storage shed.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think we approved several commercial buildings in the past, but they've always had the deal you had to have stone or something on the front. So like I said, with the variance. So what you would like to have done is, without coming to us for approval, just have it where you can approve it because it's a metal building, but the metal is not exposed on the front. Just save them coming to us to get a variance.
So keep in mind, any type of commercial building has to come to you anyway.
Right.
So if you have a metal building where you just have to get the construction part approved, you don't have to go get the construction part approved plus get the variance approved. A lot more people would be interested in going through that process than the double in the process.
Okay, I understand. Yep.
Could you just draft up that language and send it to Cassie?
I can, but the thing of it is maybe we ought to get some thoughts of what you don't want on the front of the building and what you do want. I mean, if you're just interested in those several items, then we can do something like that. Like the corrugated or the ribbed.
Right.
If you're interested in just that, or if you want to have stucco masonry, we could do that too.
What would be the problem of giving you the discretion on that?
I didn't hear that.
See maybe us two work together on something, and then we come and then we see if you guys like it. Maybe.
Okay.
I'm looking at these exemptions here in C2 contemporary commercial. It looks like it's kind of overreaching, with like putting up stucco and all this other, facade finishes.
Well,
that's the reason why I believe. Go ahead, Cassie.
So to give a bit of the background, we'd had a question from someone about can they erect a metal building in this zone, and that's when Paul found this part of the code, and I started looking into it. To your question of we don't even know when this was added, I found it kept in the ordinance from 2000 that sort of overhauled the zoning code, but I think the oldest code book I checked was 1973. It was in there, this exact same language. So we've prohibited, I'm going to put that in quotes, prohibited metal buildings for 50 plus years, but you drive around, especially C2C, you'll see them everywhere. So they've gotten approval somehow. Because it's outside of the historic district, my files are sometimes good, sometimes bad in the history of those buildings. But so I talked with Paul, and Paul talked with the mayor about potentially bringing this to you all and then to city council about revisiting this part of the code to better reflect what exists and what we would like to exist. Because right now, it's not always, in my opinion, a good way to deal with constituents when they say, I'd like to put up a metal building, and then I say, you can't, or you have to get a zoning variance, and they're like, but there's all of these that already exist.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
I guess actually something was next. Yeah,
go ahead,
after Tom. Now, we're not talking, when you say metal buildings, we're not talking about somebody buying a plot of land and dropping a couple of shipping containers on there and opening the doors and starting a business, are we?
I
talking
think
about something
that would be an additional conversation. In my mind, we've also gotten that question, and my general answer has been, I don't see that in code that we allow that, and I would not feel comfortable giving permission or encouraging someone to apply for that.
But we don't have anything in code discouraging it either, do we?
Yeah.
We do.
We do? Okay, cool.
You're not allowed to have a container.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
I could actually see these exemptions in here could just be stripped out,
Right.
a lot of them, because I think they probably meant well back in the 1970s.
Yeah. Well,
But, who uses stucco today? Why would you even want?
Well, they're faux products that are very common.
It sounds like from what I'm hearing from you guys, you want to pick it up as an item that we could maybe modify or take it on to add some lines to it to bring it back into the 21st century. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, yeah, if there's a prohibition against metal buildings, we need to deal with that, in my
Right.
opinion. That's number one. Because so many, I've been involved in at least 100 metal buildings in multiple jurisdictions in multiple states, and most of them have standards regarding the fronts, right? They're either wainscot, 30%, 3 foot, 4 foot high, brick, faux brick finishes, or they're the entire front. Right. And it's a stucco or it's a fake stucco ephes. And some of them have trim requirements, just basic vertical metal trim, which most buildings come with. And then they have height limitations because you want to be careful. Some people will get kind of cute on you and they'll build a real high building and they don't need it because they want to put their sign up as high as possible. So it's their own personal billboard. And this is all kind of little nuances. Just put some basic standards, whether it's single slope, if it's pitch and so forth. So I don't think there's anything. And the metal buildings, the metal building kits they make nowadays and insulated buildings, they use them in shopping centers. In fact, there's a shopping center in this town. I believe it's a metal, at least one. It's a metal building, but you wouldn't be able to tell from the front. Mm-hmm. So I would absolutely be in favor of adding metal buildings to an ordinance. I would also be in favor of putting in a requirement that the fronts have some type of clad to them, which does not that covers up the ribbing. No question about it. Okay. Good. You can build a metal building, and buy a kit for a metal building, in many cases a lot less expensive than you can build a conventional brick building. Yeah.
Well, I think David's got a lot of experience, and maybe we should ask David to help us develop.
Well, you can build them faster too.
Yeah.
You can order those kits, and the erector will be there once you pour the slab. They'll put that metal building up in a week. So it makes a lot of sense.
But for me, I don't know much about metal buildings, but it sounds like maybe you could help us at the next.
So how we word what treatments they need to do is the key.
That's right.
Yeah, and there must be some examples of that. It's brick or it's a faux brick product, or it's a stucco or it's a faux stucco, and they're using now woods. They're using hardwoods now, the vertical stain woods and so forth. They look very sharp.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's absolutely something that we should pursue.
Okay.
I didn't realize that people are coming to you with that, and it's a problem.
So everybody in agreement? Okay, all right. So,
One
yes,
more
go
thing.
ahead.
Yeah, it doesn't distinguish between just front-facing or the entire building. So,
What's the norm? Is this the front? Dave?
Typically just the front.
Yeah. So it sounds like we can put our teeth into it a little
yeah,
bit.
because it doesn't actually specify it in the current.
Yeah. So we should look at that to help the public with some more definitions, some more language in there. Okay.
Now, in this particular,
So I agree.
if the building that they were discussing, let's just use the prior building at the brewery, it was kind of back off the road, right?
Correct.
You couldn't even see it from the road.
Correct.
I'm not even sure was it angled or was it actually facing, perpendicular to the road?
It was facing the road,
It was facing the road?
but
Okay.
it's way back there.
Way back,
Yeah.
where the brewery, back behind the brewery almost.
In that case, let's say here's a real life example. Let's just say if we have an ordinance allows metal buildings, but the front face has to be entirely clad, no exposed rib. They said you can't even see this building hardly from the road. We'd like to have a variance for a 30% wainscot bottom trim. Well, that's something that would pass the test of reasonableness. We may not approve that for a shopping center that's right on the road, but for a building that's set back 300 or 400 feet, those are the kind of things that you might come for a variance.
I agree.
So I think we got it. Okay. So thank you, Paul. We'll pick that up. We're going to do some work on that and get that work. So the next item is going to be Ann with tourist lodging. Thank you, Paul.
So we are waiting on one tourist lodging that Fire Marshal and Paul have not been able to assess. We gave the list of addresses to CAPC. They identified some that have not been paying CAPC taxes. They're addressing that, and they will let us know if we need to bring them in for show cause, because the goal was to get everyone into compliance.
Right.
So at this point, there's just one we're waiting on.
Okay, great. Well, that's good. Then we'll get.
It is good.
All right. All right. Thank you, Ian. Lot size discussion. Back to Tom.
All right.
Back to Cassie.
You all should have it at the end of your packets, the amendments to the R1 bulk and area requirements that I believe we have agreed on. I believe if we want to move this on to City Council, we could vote on if you agree with these amendments right now, and then I could present it to the mayor to get on City Council's agenda.
Can be recognized.
Go ahead, Michael.
I move that we accept the adjustments on the Chapter 14.8 zoning districts, bulk and area requirements as written to change the minimum lot size from 4,000 feet to 3,200 square feet, and the yard setback from 10 foot to 8 foot each side.
I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to adjust the lot sizes as defined by Michael. Any questions? Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Passes. All right. Good. All right. That moves us now. And of course, agricultural zone. I don't have a name by the agricultural zone. I think that might have. Is that Cassie? Was that you?
I was just told to keep it on the agenda, so I kept it on the agenda.
Yeah. Anybody got any more information from last meeting? I think we'll just keep it on there again. We'll do it again. Unless somebody's got. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll keep it on there for the next one.
Let me refresh myself, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The primary discussion points on the agricultural zone were.
It got brought up to see if we wanted to add RV parks as a permitted use or conditional use. And I believe the decision was that rather than doing that, we wanted to look further into what uses we may allow in agricultural zones and are rezoning certain agricultural zones to fit better with what they should.
Yeah, and I think that was
being used as.
and that was in response to a request to an RV site on an agricultural zone. So, okay, all right.
Which if we want to have any information, I know there was a question on does an RV park allow mobile homes last time, because RV parks are not defined in our municipal code. They are defined in Arkansas State Code as a parcel of land where 3 or more spaces are occupied or intended for occupancy by recreational vehicles for transient dwelling purposes. So RV park by Arkansas State Code cannot have a mobile home.
Wow. Okay. So we still got work to do with that one, but yeah. Okay. So move on. Anybody, anything on agricultural zone? Okay. All right. Agenda setting for the next meeting, regular meeting. I know we talked about we're going to still have the metal buildings back on there. We're going to hear more about the tourist lodging. Hopefully some CAPC will have some numbers for us. And then agricultural zone, of course. Anything else? Anybody? Go ahead.
I'd like to put a discussion on there on relaxed Robert rules of order that we do. I mean, I've seen some instances with the city council where an order was presented and everybody was afraid or hesitant to even second it for discussion because they thought by seconding it they were going to prove it. I'd just like to have a discussion, just a quick on basic Robert's rules of order in a meeting like we have, like you introduce a bill or ordinance and you have discussion.
There should be there's a modified pamphlet. Okay, you've got one of those?
I've got the book at my house.
But I think that's all defined in that pamphlet. I don't know what else.
I mean, have you gotten anything like that?
City council uses municipal leagues rules of order.
Okay.
So they operate by a different parliamentary procedure than we do.
That's what I'm saying. But they've said we're going to do relax Robert's rules, but nobody's ever told me what that was. So is there
the one caveat when I look at Robert Rules of Order, the initial purpose of Robert's Rules of Order was to conduct a successful meeting. Yeah. So that's what I kind of used to find out. Well, are we having trouble with having a successful meeting? And that's when I would look at reviewing a procedure. But right now, I don't think the commissions. We've had any problems with having a successful meeting.
Pretty relaxed. I just under the impression that in order for anything to get onto the floor for discussion, that it has to be moved on to do it.
Right.
You introduce it. Like I moved to, example, change that rug on the floor.
Yeah.
You can't just you can do anything you want, but once you move it, then somebody seconds it, then you do discussion and then a vote.
Right.
Once the vote is done, the subject closes.
That's true.
Questions should be asked after that because either pass or fail. But sometimes I see that we're doing it. And I know it's relaxed. I understand it is relaxed. But I just want to make sure that people realize that if somebody brings up something like I want to have Mike Welch removed from the panel, by seconding, that doesn't mean you're wanting it to happen. You're just willing to put it on the floor discussion.
Okay. Yeah. And so in that aspect, that example you used, there actually is a code of conduct ordinance that was passed, I want to say 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was pretty recent, where the city council developed something because that was one of the things, there was nothing for them to use as a basis. Yeah. And so that was one of the things. So my understanding is, we all serve at the behest of the city council, and so it's the council that authorizes us in our chairs. Okay. So it's the ones that could relieve us. Now, if there was excessive absenteeism, then we would, as a commission, vote to vacate the chair, and then we'd submit that to council, and they would have to vote on. Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
I just want to clarify. Even though city council votes us in, we do not report to city council.
Right, correct. That's correct.
Okay.
I
wasn't using my removal as an example of procedure. I was just saying, in order for any issues to be brought before this board or this council, you have to, I move that this happen in a positive sense.
There has to be an active motion. Is that what you're?
And then once it's seconded, then you go motion to discuss.
Right.
And then you vote on it and it closes. But that's kind of the 4 steps involved.
Yeah, you're right. That's very true.
Yeah, because when I first volunteered to do this, nobody.
Well, I know last meeting I was kind of going a little fast and I messed up last, but I'm trying to do it better.
A question on that, though we're voted in by the city council members, don't we serve for the favor of the mayor because of the appointments?
Well, so when you come in, right, the process is you have to fill out a form. The mayor's assistant has to submit the form to the mayor.
Right.
Then the mayor has to review that application, and he decides to give it to council for the review. So in a way, it's got to be set before the council, and then they have 2 meetings. I think they usually don't do it on the first time, but the second time they vote. And then, like, when you were appointed, none of us got to say whether you'd be on this council. So, and that's fine. I kind of like that. But there are commissions like the CAPC.
But when I was appointed, that I could be dismissed by the mayor.
Well, not by us. You know what I mean?
No, by the mayor.
Oh, the mayor. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, not just you still have to vote. The council still has to vote to make the seat vacant.
Got it. Okay.
So, I've been here, gosh, only since 2012. I only know 2 cases where that's actually come up. So I only know 2 where it's actually. I mean, it's a very very rare situation. Unfortunately, it is because like I said, the CAPC gets to choose who's going to be on that commission, and they submit those names to the council, and the council approves them. So it's kind of unique on that one commission, but all the other commissions I know of, they go like we did. So that's the only commission I know that does a unique process.
Any more agenda items for the July 8th meeting?
Nope.
Yeah,
I don't know where to bring it up here, or if it's probably something in workshop, because I was reading through the ordinances, and it's, with the Opera House opening up, and I can foresee in the future everything's going to be expanding. I already see a new construction from the Opera House towards Eureka Springs. I read somewhere in the ordinance, maybe someone could correct me on that our jurisdiction as far as planning extends out 5 miles outside of the city limit.
That is no longer true.
Yeah, the state passed.
The state passed a law this year that...
So that hasn't been updated then?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, just very, very recent.
So what is the state law about that?
We have no extraterritorial jurisdiction outside of our city limits.
Okay.
Right. Yep. So that was what happened, and just very recent vote where the state of Arkansas did that to us.
So
I still have the language on that. I can send it to you.
Okay, so a question for clarification. So if the city needs to expand its boundaries, how would that happen?
We can still go through the process of annexation. Annexation is different from extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Okay.
Right.
Because I could see the corridor between the Opera House and our city limit is going to be populated by new construction and cabins. Already see them growing.
Yeah, that's Inspiration Point. That's all unincorporated now. The county.
Yeah.
So it would be, that's again, that would be. We could talk about that some.
So that'd be a workshop.
Sure. We could have a discussion during our meeting and then decide to have a workshop after that. But we could put it on the agenda for sure.
Okay.
So is that what you'd like to put on the agenda? Annexation?
I'll bring it up maybe next meeting. I want to think about it some more.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Nope. All right. So, all right. So now we've got commissioner comments.
I don't have anything.
Nope, nothing.
Okay.
Not today.
Okay. David?
None today.
Tom?
Nothing.
All right. Well, the only thing I've got to do is I've got to let you guys know I did go before the CAPC at their last meeting, and I just want to, when I wore my hat, I told them I would wear my hat as a chair, thanking them for their commission and for the work they do and for how they help the city with local businesses. The gentleman that was before mine did the chainsaw, and I thanked him for helping them with the $5,000 I gave to them. But and I plan on visiting the Historic Commission as well, thanking them for their time at being commissioners. One of the things that I've asked council to do, and they haven't done it, was to do just what I'm doing. And that's thank the commissioners directly for their time and that they're taking their volunteering and doing that. Because it's really important. I mean, this is so important, guys. I mean, helping the direction of the town without our input, the town goes into a spiral, into a dark place, which we don't want to go. So I think we're very important people, and we use our own time, we use our own funds to be here, and I want to let you know that I appreciate you being here. So that's part of what I did, and the thing is, we had, we've got a big weekend coming up. I think the Pride, we've got the, I don't know, in the parade, there's a parade too, right? So we got a parade.
Saturday at 11.
11, okay. So we've got all that stuff going on. So just get on the streets and remember. So one thing I want to let you guys know is when you're on Facebook and when you're out there in social media or in the public, you got to remember that you're a commissioner. Okay, so always keep that in mind. And you use your words carefully, but at the same time, you still have your First Amendment rights. But at the same time, just remember, that you're representing the city. So at the same time, just be yourself, but at the same time, kind of have a little boundary. So I just wanted to tell you that. So I appreciate you guys doing it, and you guys are doing a great job. And at that, I'll get a motion to. There you go. Second. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's approved. Any opposed?
Thanks, everybody.
No? Okay,
Thank
we're good.
you for
Sure.